All right, let's dive into a feeling that poisons us from the inside out. It's a force so powerful, it has shaped our myths, sparked ancient murders, and, believe it or not, now powers our entire global economy. Today, we're going to talk about that serpent between our ears. We're talking about envy.
You know, more than 400 years ago, Shakespeare gave this feeling a face. He called it the green-eyed monster. But what a strange monster it is, because it eats itself. It doesn't just want what you have. It literally devours its own host from within.
And this right here is what makes envy so unique, especially when you think about the other deadly sins. I mean, greed gets you stuff, gluttony feels good for a minute, but envy? It offers absolutely nothing, not one single moment of pleasure. Its only goal is to tear others down, to dim their light so our own shadow feels a little less dark.
So let's get into it. How does this internal poison actually work? Because it's a really quiet process, totally different from those other, more obvious sins.
See, envy's whole game is comparison. It's that little whisper in your head that says, why them and not me? It's not really about wanting the car or the job. It's about resenting the fact that someone else has it. And what happens is your own self-worth starts getting reflected in their success, and that reflection gets all twisted and ugly with resentment.
Now, because envy is so sneaky and hidden, cultures all through history have had to create these powerful figures, these archetypes, just to make the invisible feeling visible. So let's take a look at some of the faces of spite.
Okay, what's so fascinating here is that this gives us a kind of psychological profile of envy's different flavors. You've got Leviathan, which is like this huge cosmic resentment against order itself. Then you have Cain, the classic story of that really personal sibling rivalry. And then there's Eris, the master of social sabotage, who starts a whole war just because she wasn't invited to a party.
You know, the medieval demonologists who linked envy to Leviathan were really onto something. Leviathan isn't just some big sea monster. It's a perfect symbol for that chaotic, hidden force swimming around in the dark parts of our mind. It's that unseen creature whispering comparisons, twisting how we see the world.
And this story, man, it just nails the true horror of envy. Cain didn't kill Abel for his sheep. He killed him because God seemed to favor Abel more. He killed him for recognition, for worth. This story shows us that the most dangerous kind of envy isn't about what you have, it's about who you are. It's a direct attack on someone's very being.
So, how did this internal feeling break out into the external world? Let's trace how it became this concept that has haunted people for thousands of years, and we're going to connect an ancient curse directly to something you probably did 5 minutes ago.
It's pretty wild when you find out the word envy itself comes from the Latin invidere, which literally means to look against. And this was not a metaphor. For ancient people, the evil eye was a real psychic weapon. A single look filled with envy was thought to have the power to kill livestock, ruin crops, and make you sick.
So here's the kicker. That ancient fear has just been updated for the 21st century. The single powerful evil eye has been replaced by the infinite scroll. We're not looking against anymore, we're scrolling against. Social media has basically automated the evil eye, delivering a million tiny curses of comparison right to our brains every single day.
Okay, this brings us to a huge question. What happens when this private, nasty little vice, the one we see in Cain and Eris, is no longer just a personal problem? What happens when it gets harnessed and scaled up to run an entire economic system?
And this is where envy shifts from being a personal failing to a cultural logic. See, modern capitalism doesn't just put up with envy, it actively grows it. It needs it to run. Entire industries, advertising, marketing, you name it, are built to manufacture dissatisfaction and status anxiety.
And there's basically a 4-step formula for it. First, advertising sparks comparison by showing you some idealized life. Second, that makes you dissatisfied with your own. Third, they don't sell you a product, they sell you the status that comes with it. And finally, because status is always relative, the system guarantees you're never truly content, so you're always ready for the next upgrade.
And that reveals the central paradox of it all. The whole engine promises you happiness and fulfillment, but the fuel that makes it run is your unhappiness. For envy to work as an economic driver, there has to be someone with more, something better to want. The system can never actually deliver on its promise of contentment, because if it did, the whole machine would just grind to a halt.
All right, so let's pull all these threads together now. the myth, the history, the economic system, and let's paint one final powerful picture of what envy actually looks like inside our own heads.
I want you to picture it. A face that looks totally normal, maybe even happy. But inside, hidden from everyone, is that Leviathan, that serpent of comparison, constantly whispering its poison. That's the silent rot, the corrosion of the self that happens just behind the eyes.
And that brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? Shakespeare's warning was never about some monster out there in the world. The monster is in here. And the meat it feeds on is our own peace of mind, our own ability to feel joy.
So we're left with this final thought. If our entire culture's operating system is designed to keep us perpetually dissatisfied, always looking over our shoulder at what other people have, then maybe the most radical, rebellious thing you can possibly do is to just be content. What do you think?